I really liked Jamie Harper at the beginning of the year. He's the Titans' backup running back, and I even said on one of the newscasts, I was talking about the Titans, said, hey, it could be a potential fantasy sleeper, but then Chris Johnson signed a contract, so I don't know how that'll pan out. I think a lot of leagues, people maybe didn't take Cam Newton, but he had a huge week 1, so I'm sure he'll be snatched up pretty quickly. I think week 1's kind of tough to pick, who's on the waiver wire that might be available, but after week 2, maybe the same guy has a big game, people go out and snatch him up, but I'd say Cam Newton, if he's available in some of the leagues, definitely it looks like he's going to have a pretty good year.
Yeah, there's a few. At quarterback, Ryan Fitzpatrick could be a good option. He threw 4 touchdowns in the Bills' week 1 win over Kansas City. He's not a number 1 quarterback by any stretch. I really like Josh Freeman. I think he's probably a starter in most leagues now anyway. So is Matthew Stafford. Those are the 2 under-the-radar guys I was a big fan of. Running backs, Tim Hightower from the Redskins. He did very well in the preseason, had a touchdown last week. Wide receivers, keep an eye on Jordy Nelson, wide receiver for Green Bay. I like Mike Thomas from Jacksonville. However, with the quarterback issues there, with David Garrard being gone, I don't know what his value is now.
"12 teams in my league. I picked 4th this year, which means I had a terrible team last year. And I thought it went well. It was weird because I couldn't draft the team. I'm sitting there trying to shoot high school football games, and I've got my buddy texting me and calling like, you're up. I kind of made a cheat sheet, like, well, this is who I wanted this position. So I thought it went pretty well for not being able to be there.
Well, I am actually co-managers with someone this year, and the one that I really care about. Everyone's in 2 or 3 leagues, but there's always one that they really care about. The one that I care about, we actually picked 10th, which is a terrible spot to draft. We went with Jamal Charles, running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he got us a touchdown last week. But obviously, I would have liked to have maybe gone a different direction. That league particularly is very quarterback-driven. So it was a bad spot for us to draft, but we're okay so far. With Chris Johnson's holdout, that I think affected a lot of people because I think people drafted when he was still holding out. And as we saw last week, he's very, very rusty. Didn't have a very good game. I probably would have stayed away from Chris Johnson. Arian Foster, my fear was that he might have been a one-hit wonder, and he did not play in week 1. I probably would have went with Adrian Peterson. He has the best track record of consistency. He's always going to get you yards, and he's going to usually contribute. He may have an off week or 2, but I think he's been the most consistent fantasy guy in the past 3, 4, 5 years.
Oh boy, I probably would have taken Adrian Peterson. He's, I think, the best running back in the NFL. He didn't have a great game yesterday, but he's, easily one of the best running backs in the league I'm in. Running backs split the most points, so if I would have had the first pick, I would probably definitely take Adrian Peterson.
Draft the kicker last, which you've already had the draft, so your kicker should have been your last pick. If it wasn't your last pick, then you're already off to a bad start. Be patient, but also be aggressive with trying to get people, in the midweeks, waiver pickups. You don't want to give up on guys too quickly, but at the same time, you're always wanting to find ways to make your team better. So have a couple guys that maybe you consider to be, guys you'd be willing to drop, but at the same time, be patient on some of those guys that you drafted early on, because there's a reason why you drafted them early, because you think they're going to contribute. And if they're quiet early on, stick with them. They'll be fine.